This week on Numbers and Nonsense, Aaron and I talk a little bit about AI and how we use it and where it's going. Then we're joined by Shaugn Lindley, an entrepreneur out of Austin, Texas, that acquired a forklift repair and supply company. We talk about his future and riff on some different strategies he can use to grow his business. Stand by and enjoy this week's episode of Numbers and Nonsense. Welcome to Numbers and Nonsense. I'm just Joe Nolan, and with me, as always, it's the AI hologram himself, Aaron Holtzman. Aaron, how are you doing today?
I'm good. AI Aaron, that's what they're calling me now. So, yeah,
That's
Joe,
right.
I was gonna say we were just talking like off screen about this, and I think it's a good little topic to touch upon because no one else is talking about it. So I think we should talk about what AI is doing.
Well, I think it's mostly like you blew my mind this weekend when you sent me a video that was generated by AI that was doing riffs of 50 Cent songs that don't exist. Like, I don't think people realize like what kind of a world we're in. And I think ironically, the people that taught us growing up, our parents' generation, is absolutely not prepared for the level of fake information that's going to just be absolutely everywhere with these AI programs.
Yeah, and it's funny too because, like, for the longest time, everyone, at least myself, would think creative is going to be the last frontier of what humans can do. And after hearing, some of these covered songs by literally an artificial intelligence, just being like a beautiful bluesy 1960s bluesy rendition of a 50 Cent song it blew me away. And I'm going, okay, no one's safe anymore.
Well, my brother showed me an incredible one. It was Rasta Jedi, and it was doing like video from like A New Hope, but it was redone with AI doing Rasta reggae music.
Oh my God.
Just, incredible stuff what people are using it for. But I heard someone say, I used to think that the computers would do all the work for us so that we could all paint, but now the computers are painting for us so we can all work.
Yeah, yeah, we're just gonna go back to like toiling with our hands because that's the one thing machines won't be able to do.
Sure. Well, let me ask you: are you using AI at all in your business?
Knock on wood, I am. Honestly, I'm using it the most really in helping me put together memos and writing emails. I'm not the most eloquent with words, even though I am a podcast host, but I'll put a draft email together, plop it into ChatGPT. I mean, this is a very, blasé approach. It's not like it's fully ingrained. And unfortunately, AI is not there to do a lot of the, tax preparation work yet.
It will very confidently do it wrong.
Oh, for sure. It makes me sound really smart whenever I say, but what about this? And it's like, oh, that's a great question. But yeah, no, I mean, we're implementing in that way. And actually, Joe, something that I'm going to talk to you a bit about offline another time. I'm actually trying to build out kind of a pipeline tracker for referrals that I'm getting to my firm because it's a good problem to have. We have a number of referral partners that send us potential clients, and we don't really have the best type of system that says this is where the referrals coming from. We have an Excel tracker that's very manual, and Excel can get muddy. I explored CRMs, but we don't need a full-blown customer resource management system. We just need something that's going to be pretty, build a dashboard for us, and help us track and monitor referrals coming into the firm. And
yeah, but the problem is you're so good in Excel, you're just going to look at these paid options and say, I can just do this in Excel. Why am I going to pay $20 a month?
Well, what I actually did was I prompted ChatGPT on this. And so I'm actually working with it right now to use Excel and Power BI and this other Microsoft tool that I never even heard of before. I think Power Automate or something like that. I haven't finished it yet, but I mean, that's the thing that honestly, I never would have thought to do until I just really started, focusing more and more on like, this is a problem I have. How can I fix it? And I'm like, there is a tool that I can bounce something off of because I'm not the best at Power BI. That is a very niche type of data, presentation model. And if I can leverage ChatGPT in that capacity to help me build together these different databases that'll help me illustrate to my team, hey, this is who we're assigning the referral to. This is where they came from. This is the close rate. It's just going to make us better. And also, help us appreciate those who are sending us referrals that much more.
No doubt about it. And I'll tell you what, I use it as well, helping me just make sure my information's correct, that I'm sending professional emails. It's just so much easier that way. But I just used it as well to help me build my own website, just to try to create additional ways for people to interact with me, to find me organically. So, using HubSpot, AI, and ChatGPT, I was able to put together a new website, precisesba.com. And now it's live and people can jump on my calendar to talk through their SBA request. And, it's crazy. I would have said that was just so overwhelming and something that I didn't know how to do. But now I've got a infinitely patient expert that I can literally just copy and paste error messages to help me figure out what's going on. And it's not replacing my knowledge, right? Like, I think a lot of people talk about AI as just making people dumber. And I can see people using it as a crutch, but at the same time, it's completely expanded my horizon to be able to take on projects that I would have just thought were overwhelming before. So I think it's really how you use it.
Yeah. Overwhelming for an individual yourself to learn, or cost prohibitive to go, okay, I'm not going to spend $500, $1,000 to work with a coder to go back and forth on multiple iterations on a website.
$500? Are you kidding me? I mean, you go look at these custom website designers, they say $5,000 for a Squarespace site.
If I were them, I'd be very scared right now.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great place to leave it. I'd love to hear more in the comments with how you're using AI or not using AI. But I think we're going to get ready to turn it in. And Aaron, if you want to bring in our guest.
I'm really excited to have our guest today, Shaugn Lindley, join us here on the podcast. He's not only a client of mine, but someone who I've been working with for over a year, and just met him through the power of building a good relationship with other professionals that take good care of their clients. That's the power of networking. And for anyone that listens to this podcast, really, that's how you meet quality people. That's how I met Shaugn, who's been a quality client of myself. And that's how, I'm able to actually enjoy the people I work with. So, Joe, if you want to bring Shaugn onto the set, welcome here, sir. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
Shaugn, thanks so much for joining the podcast. Aaron has obviously had a chance to work with you for a little while, but you and I actually had a chance to talk as well, maybe 3 months ago or so. And I found your story to be just completely fascinating. Could you maybe talk a little bit about how you got into business ownership and how you fell into a really unique niche as part of that search process?
Yeah, my career has been an interesting one. Just a quick bio about myself. So I'm originally from the Seattle, Washington area. And I got out of college and had an opportunity to buy a franchise restaurant that I had worked in while attending college. It was called the Pita Pit. And I worked out a seller financing deal and did that for 3 years. And looking back on it, ETA has become a really popular phrase, and a lot of people are talking about acquiring and buying existing businesses. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that I wanted to own a pita pit, and I thought it would be cool. And so we put together a seller financing deal for that. I always say I feel like I got an MBA in business. Running a company, hiring, setting company policy, managing people, managing cash, and after about doing that for 3 years, I decided that I got tired of working with 18-year-old stoners. No offense to anybody running.
Well, in most MBAs, 3 years is a pretty good amount of time from the School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah, it's the restaurant industry is a great industry to be in. For me personally, it wasn't the right fit. So I always felt like I had a knack for sales and connecting with people and value selling. So I went in and got into the corporate world, and that's where I ended up for 14 years. I sold direct to to companies. I led sales teams, and then most recently, I was a VP of sales for a company called SAP, which is a big global tech company. And I got caught up. I was one of the dreaded 2024 tech layoff. I got the email. I was actually in Hawaii. I was 40 years old. I had a baby on the way, and I got a call on January 2nd at like 8 a.m. when I was on the road to Hana, and instantly I knew what it was about. And so, it felt like a really pivotal time in my life. Baby on the way, 40 years old, and kind of looking at what's next. So I really had two choices. It was either go back into, the corporate life and do what I've been doing, which was, sales leadership. And it just kind of the thought of doing that for the next 20 years didn't really excite me. I knew I could do it, and I knew it provided me a really great life, but it just wasn't really calling my name. So because of my experience doing the acquisition of the Pita Pit, I started to really kind of toy around with the idea of getting back into business for myself and getting back into entrepreneurship. So I started a whole search process, and today I am just over 1 year as the owner of R&R Lift, which is a forklift service business here in Austin, Texas. So we repair and maintain forklifts from Austin to San Antonio at our customer locations.
Amazing. From the Pita Pit to the forklifts,
Yeah.
with a little jump onto the corporate ladder in between. And that's really why I was so excited to talk with you, because a lot of the time we're talking to people that are either, well, post-acquisition, or maybe in our day-to-day lives, people that are trying to get the first one under their belt. What would you say is, your biggest difference between your approach going into the Pita Pocket versus going into the forklift business?
My approach was completely different. I did zero due diligence when I went to the Pita Pit. I mean, they called me, they sent an offer. I scraped together every single dollar that I had. I think I borrowed, the $5,000 or $10,000 from my mom, from my college fund, and just said, I promise I'll pay you back. I'm going to make this work. So I just went in and just did it because it was where I had been working. With this venture, I did a ton of due diligence, self-education. I hired a mentor. I connected with several, trusted associates and friends that are, in the business world. So I really had a ton of help to make this opportunity happen.
That's great. And also, what made you kind of decide on this particular business? Obviously, it's not necessarily corporate sales or a restaurant, if you will. How'd you pick this as a target?
When I got the layoff email from SAP, I went through an exercise about what I was passionate about, what I wanted long term, what would get me out of bed for the day, and also what would give me security. I come from very humble beginnings, and money security is just really important to me. And so I created a more or less kind of a deal box, and it was a certain set list of criteria about the business that I wanted to own and operate. It had to be within 50 miles of Austin. I didn't want to be commuting a ton, because I'd been on a plane during my career at SAP, and with a kid on the way, I didn't want to be away. Had certain business size and revenue requirements. I really wanted a business that had been 15 plus years in business, because that meant that they survived COVID. and they survived 2008. So that was really important to me. And then I really wanted something that was just eternally profitable. I know we hear all the time about blue collar trades and reoccurring revenue. And I think there's a reason that people are talking about those kinds of businesses.
Yep.
So why I bought this business is I looked at the financials. It was really healthy. It had a ton of recurring revenue. So we go out to customers and do 2 to 4 maintenance services on each forklift per year. And then anytime they break down, we're the first person that they pick up the phone and call. So we're constantly getting, new tickets to service customers.
And did you find this particular business through a broker, or how did you find your target?
Yeah, I was doing everything. I created letters and mailed them out to business owners. Originally, I really love plants and backyards. So I was like, I am gonna own a landscaping business. Like I'm all in on cutting the grass and doing backyard designs. So I was just having a challenge trying to find the right one that was going to fit my criteria. And so this one just popped up on Biz Buy Sell. Like it was nothing. Yeah.
Wow.
It was
The
nothing,
diamond in the rough right there. That's awesome.
I always tell the story because I sold my first business, my Pita Pit. I sold it on Biz Buy Sell in 2011, and the website is the exact same, like the UI, everything. It has not changed.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess, right?
Yeah.
That's terrific. Now, one of the things we've talked about a few months ago is that you're really at a point now where you're through digesting the acquisition. Your people are in place, your processes are in place, you understand your revenue. What are you thinking about as the business owner now, a year out post acquisition, versus what are some things that you had to think about before the acquisition, and how did they play out?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So you go through the due diligence phase, you make all of these assumptions, and before you close, you're really nervous that you hope that your assumptions and your review of the earnings and the employees, everything's going to be what was sold to you. So I always knew in the back of my head that I wasn't going to make a ton of changes in the first year. Now, some of that didn't really end up being true. I have made a lot of changes, but I had a lot to learn. Like I have never fixed a forklift in my life. It was new terminology, everything. So my goal really coming in was to just learn the business, learn from the owner, make sure none of the employees leave, make sure everything stays the same. Like don't lose any customers, just basically don't F it up. So that was my strategy. Now over time, we have done some things to improve the business, and all of my assumptions on the financial side, I know we're in numbers and nonsense, so of course we want to talk some numbers, have really come true. And we've actually experienced pretty good growth here in my first year. And I'm anticipating really good growth in the second year. Like there were no skeletons in the closet, and I can see how that is totally possible. But luckily for me in my situation, everything that all the assumptions I had came to fruition. I think one other thing I'll just add is I also looked back at my business plan that I sent into the SBA when I got my loan, and it did kind of help me stay on target with some of the assumptions that I made during the due diligence and loan approval process. But some of those I've actually hit the I guess you can say the goals that I set. I've hit those, and others I'm like, what the hell was I thinking?
Well, and that's like the best outcome from a due diligence process. And we talked about it with our guest Jenny before, who helps people write business plans for SBA loans. Sometimes just having to concentrate your thoughts and sit down and think things through and put it onto paper is the best way to prepare for the acquisition, just so you can start thinking about, okay, what are my KPIs? What do I need to see in order to know that I'm on track? I like to say, if you don't know what you're looking at going in, it's like driving a car without a fuel gauge. You're just going to run out of fuel at some point and be surprised.
For sure. Yeah. And I've talked to some other searchers, just, as I've been in it, word's gotten out that I bought a business, and so other people reach out, and it's funny to see a lot of their growth plans, and they think they're going to grow the company 30 or 40% in year one. And it's like, let's pump the brakes a little bit. And that's in my business plan. I assume basically like maybe 10% growth. So we've been able to exceed those metrics, but it's a big learning curve, and there's a lot of stuff thrown at you in that first year. That, can you do it? Yes, of course. And I'm confident there's a lot of people that have grown 30, 40, 50% in their first year, but it's better to be realistic with everything that you have to do in your own personal business plan, to kind of be a little more conservative, and then go from there. And that's what we're doing. That's what we've done in this first year. And now we're ready to hit the gas pedal a little bit.
I mean, that's honestly really wise. And there's something to be said about making sure that post acquisition, you're just focused on making sure the reins are handed off properly. Because also, Shaugn, like, what would have happened if you grew 50% in your first year post acquisition? You still have your same team. You probably would have had to onboard people in a business that you were still relatively new to and learning. I think there's something to be said about making sure your foundation is solid, making sure your team is primed, and you actually understand what your capacity as a new business owner is, but also as what the existing business owner was. With your entrance into this world, obviously you had I don't want to say more drive, but you were new, you were excited, you want to grow it. The sellers were ready to sail off into the sunset. And that's two very different mentalities. But at the same time, you don't want to grow too quick. You don't want to have revenue climb too quickly on something you just took over, because then you could have slippage and a lot of other things. You could overwork your people. They could leave. Quality could go down. And I think there's something to be said about, hey, year one, just make sure, especially if it's a long-standing legacy business that is profitable, just make sure you're servicing the loan, you got your feet beneath you, and then you're primed and you figure out how you want to grow. And I think that's kind of what you're approaching now as well, right?
That's you hit the nail on the head, and that's exactly it. You come in, you want to try to, not to sound sappy, but win the hearts and minds of the staff.
Yeah.
I'm a new guy coming in, and they're used to, an old gentleman. I won't use his name, but old Southern gentleman. It's a different flavor coming in than a person like me. And you just want to make sure that the staff is happy and retained, and our customers get serviced, and the loan gets paid, because I put my on the line, and this can't fail. And
you can say ass, Shaugn. This is a PG-13 podcast.
I'm trying to be more. I'm trying to continue my professional streak, and not.
Well, I guess one of us has to.
Yeah. But yeah, the other, just like switching things too much. Right now, we just went live with a new FSM software, so it handles scheduling, dispatch, work orders, parts ordering, estimates, invoicing, and we're going from an old legacy solution. And on top of that, I'm coming to you live just from our new 7,500 square foot facility. Before, we have been in a 480 square foot storage facility. Aaron and I would do our monthly and quarterly reviews, and I always felt like I was working from a prison.
Your arms were like stacked up here with some paper underneath you.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on the new facility. That's incredibly exciting to have already been able to start making your stamp, right? And not just change for the sake of change's sake, but getting in, identifying where there was flaws or potential room to improve operations, and then making things better for everyone.
Yeah. The point I was just going to make just about transition is, so we have changed this FSM software and we're literally in the middle of moving right now. And I can tell everybody is just like, okay, this is a lot of change. And I promised all them, I'm like, we are going to pump the brakes for the rest of the holiday season and just go out and service our customers and kind of worry about, some of the growth stuff that we'll do in 2026, because it has been a lot for them. And you don't want to burn out your key employees. You want to make sure that everybody's happy and gets to take a little time off and, spend time with their families and get ready to hit the pedal to the metal in 2026.
Yeah, that's the hard part, is balancing out the human element, the people that are actually working with you and who's have entire lives outside the business, with what the numbers say in the spreadsheet, right? And if you get too focused on one over the other, you might have a great relationship with everyone, but not be making money. Or you might have a terrible relationship and be making money hand over fist, but everyone's miserable doing it. And that either way has its own pitfalls, but finding a balance in everything always seems to be the best pathway forward. And if I could, I'd love to ask you to be a little bit maybe vulnerable here as we're looking, you're through the first year. What does like the next 12 months look like? What are the decisions you're trying to make now that you're through the education process of this business? You're starting to put your processes in place. What does the next 12 months look like?
Yeah. Yeah. We're at a, well, it's not overly pivotal, but a little bit of a pivotal point for the company. So today we're a service only business. We go out to customer sites to do forklift service. That's our bread and butter, and that's what I want to continue to invest in. So this year we've bought two new service trucks, Fords. They cost about all in close to 100 grand each to, buy them, upfit them with the tools and equipment we need. And that also means we're hiring technicians. So that is great. We've been able to grow our revenue and our customer base. And so when I'm looking into 2026, that's the same path that I want to go on. I'm looking to hire a salesperson here in the next probably 1 to 3 months to facilitate our growth, to go out and help us sell maintenance contracts. And of course, that's going to mean more customers coming in. And so then we're going to have to buy more trucks and hire more technicians and probably hire another office staff, because they're already working their tails off doing great. Like I have a wonderful team of people. Now, on the flip side, being a service-only business, we get calls all the time from potential customers saying, "I'm looking to buy a forklift. I need to rent a forklift," and we don't provide that service. We don't provide that to our customers, and a lot of our big competitors do. We're kind of a smaller player with amongst a bunch of really big national corporate, PE-backed type companies. So that's a game that we're going to get in. And so some of the challenges that I'm having right now, and I'm really depending on Aaron to give me the right projections and not mess it up and help me crash and burn my company. No pressure. No, I'm just kidding. Is really understanding our cash and how much money we have to invest, because we do want to buy machines to sell and rent to our customers. And those can be anywhere from 10 to 50 grand a machine. So maybe a discussion we can have, and I'm welcoming any and all advice, is how do I balance continue to invest in the bread and butter of our business and what drives really profitable growth, versus getting into this new space, which is going to make us much more of a well-rounded, larger company. Over time, I believe it will increase the value of our company. And how much do I invest going into sales and rentals?
It's a great question, and it's not easy to figure out that balance. You have your bread and butter that's gotten you to this point, and you've been able to grow it, right? That's the service side. But you're facing a problem that a lot of people come across, which is how do I grab a bigger share of wallet from my customers, as well as add new customers. So what you're often trying to balance is your energy and attention. Um, I'm not sure what you see, Aaron, but I often see that having a entrepreneurial owner inside of a business like this is often uh, you grow until the size of your ineptitude, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And what I've seen is people can be an absolute asset at a $2 million revenue company and be an absolute bottleneck at an $8 million company. So essentially figuring out, okay, what is the limiting factor in this entrepreneurial reaction? Is it staff that you need to, keep the ship sailing while you're looking at a new endeavor? Is it capital just to make the plan work? Is it a better understanding of the market? But I think that usually it ends up being that you're able to generate the excitement about this new endeavor, bring on people that are doing things exactly the way you want to. And um, it's about relying on the people that are already there to continue the existing operations with, oversight. And by putting your attention and capital into the new project, it is something that you've got to just do to see if it makes sense, right? And that's the scary part, is you're probably talking about how big a fleet would you need to really be able to make this?
Yeah, I would say when I've penciled it out, I'm thinking five machines to rent and having about five to, starting out with five to start selling. And you sell one, you replenish it.
Yep.
Sell one, you replenish it. And then taking that cash over time and buying more machines. I was introduced to a gentleman that owns a large forklift business in Southern California, and he's grown his rental fleet from like 130, from like 2 or 3 to like 130 rentals.
Wow.
And he just kept buying and buying and buying over time.
No, and that's the compounding effect. I'm actually going to take a quick step back and talk about my personal journey for a hot second too, Shaugn, because I experienced a similar kind of growth in my firm. Where I started my firm 4 years ago, we didn't do bookkeeping services. It was really just tax, consulting, CFO work, because that was what I was good at doing. We didn't have a full-time bookkeeper or anything like that. And it really came from a need for my clients. Unfortunately, I have met some qualified bookkeepers that I do refer business to, but when we were getting numbers come tax time and for planning, they were kind of a mess. And it became, okay, we will make some money on this. Bookkeeping margin is not as high as CFO or tax margins, but it is more hands off. So similar, I'm assuming, to what the rental type of situation would be for yourself. Your margins are likely going to be higher on the service side, just because you're going to be able to warrant. That's what the market dictates. But on the rental side, it is going to be a little more capital intensive on the front end. But it's I don't want to say more relaxed, but more streamlined and less hands on than you managing the whole team in the other type of revenue stream. So, for my own journey, it's been great. We now have a bookkeeping team of 3 people right now. And in the same sense, your guy in California, we're just growing and growing and growing. And we're just making sure that we don't bring on too much so the people get overwhelmed, train and mentor them. And, I would love to have a 4th or 5th person in the next 2 years. To your point about, buying and the renting side of things, and actually, Shaugn, I have a question for you, and there's no wrong answer, but I'm just curious where your head's at, because this does kind of drive something that I talk to a lot of my clients about. Let's say you start with your 5 forklifts, and let's say you sell through all 5 of them, you're replenishing. how many forklifts do you think you would ever want to really have? Like if you're buying 5 and you're able to get 5 new ones the next week, would you ever increase the number of forklifts you have available for sale?
Yes.
Okay. And my question is, to how much and why?
Yeah. It's something that I am wrestling with because it's like, hey, how big do you want to get? Also, with buying more forklifts, that is also becomes a full-time job. And right now, it's going to fall on my shoulders. And I'm trying to build a business where everything doesn't have to come through me. So I do realize it's a time investment on my end and money, but the goal would be to where you can hire someone full-time to manage that process. To directly answer your question, I would say probably 20 to 30 machines
Available for
look
sale,
at.
correct? Not for
Correct.
renting, but actually available for
Yeah.
sale. Okay.
Yeah. I look at when I drive by competitors' yards,
That's normally
they have
the
a
number.
nice, yeah, they have a nice mix.
Gotcha.
Well,
And
let me
obviously
ask you-
it would be different like SKUs, different types of forklifts. That's the other thing too, right? It wouldn't just be, 30, between 3 different models. It would be,
Yeah,
30 with like maybe 20 different models and some duplicates or something like that, correct?
exactly.
Okay. Sorry, Joe. Didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No. So that actually really ties well into what I was going to ask. In a dealership model, I see really 2 different ways in different industries that it works. One is either you're an authorized retailer for a specific brand with a specific market. You might not even need to hold inventory. You're just able to go out and say, hey, I can sell you these. They'll be here in 2 weeks. The other way is, your traditional car dealership model where you are taking delivery of the vehicles as inventory, and that's usually financed through like a floor plan financing, where you're paying interest only on the car until it sells. So now you have the carry cost is really the biggest thing, which is why dealerships will often sell cars just at break even because at the end of the month, because they need to turn that inventory space over. Which method would you go towards, or is there even a choice in this industry?
There are choices, and what you just described is, from my understanding, I being candid, my knowledge base is limited. I'm still on my education journey. Our strategy here for the next, I would call it likely 2 years, is to sell high quality pre-owned forklifts. Something your car is measured in miles. With forklifts, it's like a boat. It's measured in hours, engine hours. So something really low engine hours that we can sell with confidence. The reason I want to go that route is because when you do partner with a reputable dealership, they have quotas and they basically kind of have you by the balls.
Yep.
And so I don't want to just get our company tied up in that arena just yet. I just want to have options to sell our customers and to sell potential new customers. And a lot of our customer base, they're looking for quality pre-owned forklifts. The second option would be there are a bunch of cheap Chinese brands that are coming into the market, and it's like the wild, wild west. Like you can just get them and sell them, and there's no quotas or anything. I am highly likely not going to go that route. Like I really pin our business on providing quality service and selling quality products, and I just don't want to get in the cheap game arena. It's just not the customer type and everything. That's just it's not my cup of tea.
Okay, here's a thought that's running through my head right now. Let's say you're looking to buy 5 and they're 50,000 each all in, probably a little bit less, probably going to have some outside expenses, but we'll just say about $250,000 is the investment into this dealership model. You really got to look at what is your opportunity cost for that $250,000, not what could you make through the dealership, if you put that 250 into the service model, what would the return be? If you put it into the lease model, what would the return be? And if you put it into the dealership model, what would that be? And what I'm thinking here is, what if you had one new area that became a second new area, third total line of business? If you could offer the rental, buy a fleet of rentals that you then service, repair, and after X amount of uses, sell as certified pre-used, could you create your own fleet that you've already essentially made all of your money on through the rental model, and then turn around and recapitalize and create a used dealership model where you might be able to offer something that other people don't have?
That is a really interesting model. I know that a lot of rental companies will rent out their pre-owned fleet until it is sold, because that way they're at least getting some sort of income. Because on the rental side, it's a higher margin sale. The sales side really is the lowest margin. You're hoping to get anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000, on the sale. Rentals, higher margin. Service, same thing. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's really, as I'm talking to you guys on this podcast, like this is all playing out. Like this is the education process for myself, and things I'll be discussing with Aaron next week when we sit down for our quarterly meeting.
More formal meeting. Yep.
Yeah, I guess I already prepared you, since we're talking here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just thinking, if you already have the service expertise and you can show like a certified maintenance log of, here's the 100 points that we touch every time it's returned, and XYZ, I think, you don't even need to do what most people would need to do, which is hire a dedicated service team to make sure that everything's in working order. That's really interesting. It's so cool just to be able to have these conversations and just talk out loud, because so often it's hard to have these, bounce it against the wall sessions and see what sticks when you're in the middle of it. A lot of times you're putting out fires versus being able to step back and look 12 months down the road.
Entrepreneurship can be a lonely game sometimes. You don't want to bring home, at the dinner table talking about, well, do you think I should invest, into sales and rentals of forklifts? Like, no, let's talk about something else. But yeah, it's cool to be able to talk about this with other like-minded individuals and get their perspectives and their experience. You both know what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, and there's something to be said for anyone listening too. Like, just because you're not in the same industry as someone else doesn't mean that you're not having very similar problems. Like, again, Shaugn, the thing you're experiencing right now about a totally different service model and revenue stream, you wouldn't think as a CPA managing an accounting firm, I could relate at all, but I absolutely can, because I have a lower margin yet profitable, new revenue stream that I did launch as well. And so, it doesn't matter that the more niche and pigeonholed you are, does firstly protect you from business ownership, because not as many people do what you do, but the problems you have are going to be very similar to other businesses. Like Shaugn, like just going back to one of the first things you talked about, taking care of your people, being a good leader. I mean, that's the human element of it. And that's the one thing AI can't replace, is the human element, at least for now. We'll see what happens in the next 10 years. But that's exactly it. And at the core of it, every business that will be successful and will continue to be successful is going to have that. And so, for other business owners, talk to other business owners, even if they're not, in your own pond, because again, we all go through the same struggles. Sometimes imposter syndrome, other times how to manage and be a good leader, and other times, hey, how do I invest my money properly? And this may be blasphemous, but something I'm just going to say as well, because I feel like, especially in the world of entrepreneurship and business ownership, people don't talk about this enough, in my opinion. You have $250,000, Shaugn. We're talking about, just frankly, accumulating wealth for yourself as an individual and taking care of your family. There's also S&P 500 stocks. There's also, the quote unquote traditional investments that are out there too. And I'm not saying that's what we're going to do. And when I talk to you next week, we're not really going to be discussing this too much, but I will say I've seen it happen so often where business owners will just put everything they have into their business, which again is great, but also hard when two things happen. Firstly, the market could turn. There can always be something that happens, so you're not hedged with other assets. Or when you do go to sell the business, that's all you have. That is your retirement. And again, you're just having that, single asset risk. So that's not, I don't want you taken away from this conversation. Oh, I shouldn't even expand my business. Aaron's just telling me suck the money out and put it into the market. But I just feel like that's something very warrantable for anyone that has a business to really think about. Hey, I do want to make sure that the opportunity cost, and I want to have different types of assets, and that does include assets outside of your business as well.
Aaron, I have S&P 500 ETF, and I know
you do.
I know how much it's gone up.
This is the part where we're going to just kind of give you an opportunity to ask our listeners, say like, what is your ask? What are you looking for? It could be, hey, I'm looking to meet people that have forklifts for sale, or anything like that. But really, what would your ask be as we're coming to an end on this on our show today?
Yeah, my ask would be twofold. I think one, depending on whoever is watching this episode or will watch it in the future, is just everybody knows what they have inside of them. So whatever you're wanting to take a leap in, like, just do it, just commit to it and run full steam ahead, and good things tend to happen. That's the way I've always lived my life. And then my second ask would be, if you have a cousin, brother, sister, friend that has forklifts at their company, tell them to call R&R Lift. We're the best forklift service company in Austin, Texas, and we'll provide great service for you guys.
And soon to be the best dealership in Austin, Texas as well.
Yes. Yep.
Amazing. Well, Shaugn, thank you so much for joining us. Really, really enjoyed this conversation. It's great to be able to see your journey, and hopefully we'll be able to follow up with you here and hear what decisions you did end up making and how they've ended up playing out for you through the end of year 2.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me. It's super fun, and let's do it October 24th, 2026. And let's see how many of my grand plans and your advice came true. I took a note down from that, Joe, and I'm going to be talking about it with my team later.
Yes.
Amazing. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you hear that conversation. Put a calendar invite. I'm really looking forward to it.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great weekend.
Absolutely.